Welcome to episode 4 of my Power Ups tutorial. Today I'll be looking at doing the home screen. Mainly you want to focus on doing the top banner and kind of like a navigation menu down the side here. And then we'll kind of free ball what's going to be in here. It might be a blank space for now because we don't really have anything else going in the app at the moment. So let's just focus on doing a top banner and bottom bar. So I'm just going to leave this, I'm going to grab this actually, just Control X, and I'll just paste it, create a new screen. This can be our design screen. I'll have a lot of these by the end of it. I'll move that in the corner there. So I want to start with the top. So I always like to say so, but also use containers, right? Containers are my friend. About 100. Another way you can do it is that there is this rule in app development. Not that it's a rule or anything, I just actually saw it. I'm just going to say it's a rule. So you get the height, you divide it by 10, or you even divide it by 8, and then you times it by 1, which means it splits this into 8 segments, and you can do it for the width as well. I like to do it in 10. On a desktop you do have more room. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to set the width to be the parent.width. And up here is going to be our toolbar. So I want to get rid of the curve on here and just let the natural curves of the app when it's in display kind of take over. So I'll just get rid of the border radius to 0. And I'll also get rid of the shadow because I don't want a shadow at all on there, right? So I don't want to add like this little bottom banner thing. So if I go here and look at app top banners, this is just Dribbble. I use it kind of for inspiration. You can see all different types of banners. So you can see one up here, for example, very small amount of information. These are the ones that I kind of like. Not that, that's actually not really helpful. This is just all on the go. This is just too much. So what I've got in mind anyway, a simple one, is I'll just grab a button. I will make it half the size of this container, just using the parent.height divided by 2. Okay, I'm going to bring it down to the bottom, and then I'm going to make it the width. Parent.width. And I'm just going to call this uniform ordering app for now, and I'll move that to the left side here. So you can see that there is this crazy curvature up the top here. First I want to change it to view to get rid of the borders, and then I want to get rid of the border radius on this. So it's got the curves at the bottom just with the container. Right, at the moment it's just the bottom here, so I'm going to come into the container itself and give the bottom a radius of 10 for the curvature. Right, everything that I am going through has been kind of a lead up from the past couple episodes, so past 3 episodes. So make sure if I'm going a bit too quick, you can either slow it down, or I would encourage you to start it from the beginning, work your way to here. So I'm looking here in terms of design, and this is like way too close to this side here. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of padding on the left, which is just in the properties, like so. So now it's kind of flushed out a bit. This gives me space up the top here just to put in who the user is, right? So we can just go user.fullname, Jake Kennedy right there. I also need to make sure the height matches, so we'll just do parent.height divided by 2. So you can put a little message there if you want, so we'll make this a little bit bigger. We'll go 200. Just for anyone that might have a little bit longer name, I'll go 250. I'll do a text alignment to the right, and then I'll just add a hi, right? So we'll go text. Just grab this, quotes, hi. Make sure you leave a space here, and then do your and symbol, right? So this will attach your text strings together, like so. So you can see here it's got hi Jake, and I'll just do a little bit of fancy writing, italics. I will bold it so it kind of stands out. Okay, yep. And this up here will be room for a logo eventually. And we'll make this the same height. Parent.height divided by 2. And we'll set the width to be the parent.height. Because I want it to all, self.height. I want it to all be the same size. Right, looking at this, it is a little bit smaller, so I'm just going to increase the size a little bit. We'll go 1.5. And then we'll just bring this down like so. We can see this image here, 5.76. Once we get a logo there, we'll put a logo there. So for now, that's a fine banner. I'm gonna give it a little bit of padding, like so, just for now. So that'll be there, right? Do we have any sample ones? I don't think so. No, we'll find something eventually and upload. So now let's work on the navigation bar. Right. So there's a couple of different ways that we can do it. First off, obviously we want to use a container for the left side. Just bring this here. Now we know we've used 1.5 up here. So when we do the height, we're going to go parent.height divided by 10 times 8.5. And that will get us from this top to the bottom here. And then we also want to do something similar with the width. We want to do parent.width divided by 10. And I think 1.5 will be a good size, right? So we've got all this room here. Get rid of the border radius for now. And get rid of the shadows for now. Yeah, we'll get rid of the shadow for now. We can always add in later. Now, also with containers, I should add, they don't come pre-filled, right? So you see here, this is matching the background here. So make sure that you do put a color like white, so that it's not just showing. It's just a transparent color straight off the bat, just like so. That's just in case. You don't have to, but it's just in case. So I'm going to set that to white. So now in here, we could do, there's a couple of different ways that we can do. I mainly stick to 2 different ways of doing this navigation type stuff. So first I'm going to add a gallery, because gallery allows us to have multiple items and they can all have different types of code. And it just makes the code a lot simpler. So one way you can have it, jumping ahead a bit. One way you can have it is you can just have a whole bunch of buttons that have home, and you can have create order, for example, or new order, right? You can have all this all the way down. Every single one of these you have to code to say on select, do this, navigate to this, right? And then you have to put like icons in each of them, all this type of stuff. We want to be a little bit quicker. I will premise that when we're at this section of this episode, it is recommended that you go and do a little bit of research and play around with your own type of stuff, because we're about to get into some really like intermediate designs. So what I want to look at first is I need to sort these templates out. Now, the way that I like to do this is in your gallery, you go template size, get rid of this. Don't use this code ever. And I'm going to go self.height divided by, then I'm going to divide it by how many, I'm going to divide it by how many buttons I'm going to have here, right? So when I'm thinking of the uniform app, and you can always increase this, there's no problem with that. We're going to have a new order, view order, potentially a settings button, so that's 3. We'll do 4. We'll just do 4 for now, right? So we'll do divided by 4, right? So now when we can see that when we do this, we can see how big this is, right? So it's a bit too big. So we just want to make them a decent size. So I'm going to double it to 8 to get this kind of nice size. It's still a bit too big for me. We'll go 9, and then finally we'll go 10, see what that looks like. So to me, that looks like a decent size. I'm going to bring this gallery up to the top, and I'm also just going to hard code the height to be the parent.height, and hard code the width to be the parent.width, right? Just in case I decide to change the size of the container. .width. Okay, so we've got a gallery in here. We've got all these template sizes in here. So now we need to add the actual gallery, like the items itself. 2 ways of doing it. You can come in here and build an array, or you can build a collection. So let's start with a button here. Building a collection is pretty simple. I'll explain the collection first, So a collection is an offline array of data that is only accessible during the session that the user is currently in, right? So that means if I press this button, I can collect a whole bunch of data from a SharePoint list or any other database. It's only going to be live in that session, right? So if anyone makes changes, I need to do another collection to then get live data. So the main reason people would use this is if they need to bring in a certain amount of records. Power Apps, you start to get your limitations once you get to about 2,000 records. Even 500 records can sometimes be a bit of the start to feel a bit of annoyances with the limitations of Power Apps, which is fine. The way around it is going to be collections. Or you move into Dataverse. Sorry, my bad. So for now, we're just going to do collections. The way to start collections, there's two different ways. You can do a collect, which will collect a single item, rinse and repeat. So if I go collect, and I'm just going to call it, you got to name it first something, right? So you got collection, then your item. The way that I do my naming conventions is I do col, underscore, and then whatever the name of the collection is. So I'm just going to go collection test, and we'll just do one, right? And the item I want to collect, you put it in these curly brackets. You got to give it a name, and you can have multiple, right? So I'm just going to go value 1, right? And then close that off. Now, what you'll see happens here is you can see that there's a collection here in your variable database. Every time I click this, there's one there. I go to view table. There's my value there. There's a column. There's the value itself. Every time I click this, it'll keep adding to it, right? Which means as long as the user keeps pressing it, it's going to keep adding indefinitely, right? So you want to do a different, if you just want to, every time it's collected, it just brings in that one collection. You could do two things. You could do clear first, like so, and then clear that collection. And then here. Now every time I press it, it will only ever bring one in. There is actually one code that does that, and it's just literally called clear collect. So clear will clear the collection, collect will collect every time that's run, right? Every time that formula is run, it will collect whatever you tell it to collect. So if I change this to clear collect, it does both clearing of the collection and then also collecting the collection. That's a tongue twister. Right, so now I can just keep collecting the single item over and over again. Now we can take this clear collect and we can build a collection for our navigation bar. So sorry, let's do button again. So we're just going to go clear collect, and then I'm going to call it col navigation menu, right? Like so. I'm going to bring this open a little bit. This is where I start to format my coding a little bit. So there's a collection name. Now I need to actually tell it what the actual items are that I'm collecting. So let's do curly brackets and open it. So first I'm going to have the label. So what is this actual item that I'm doing? The first one's going to be new order, right, for the navigation menu. Always do a comma. This is how you create items in a collection. Curly brackets, you give the column name, the two little dots, and then you put your value in there or your string in there, and then comma for a new column, right? So then we're going to have new order. So most of the navigation menu is just going to move you from screen to screen. So we'll go move screen. And we're going to call this blank because eventually it's going to be an actual asset in the app. And if I were to do like a true false value or a string value, string text or a value, like a numerical value, it's not going to work. So we want to actually just leave it blank, right? And then we'll do icon. Actually we'll go nav icon, for example, just so it's easier to determine what we're looking for. And we'll do icon dot add, right? And yep, that'll be it. So we'll just come here, we will close this off with a bracket, and now when we press this button and we go to view it, you can see it's brought in all this data for us, right? Built-in icon, da. So now when I go here and I give this the collection that we just created, right, it's got the item right there. You can't see it because we haven't put anything in there. That's what we're about to do, right? So I'm going to put a container in there because I can give it some shadows. I'm then going to make sure I set the width to template.width, right? Because we're inside of a template, not the actual gallery itself. And then also the height was set as parent.template height, right? Very important. But now what that means is when we create stuff in here, we can now use parent, because the parent is no longer a gallery or no longer the template. It is now the container itself. Very confusing. Apologies if I haven't explained it. Definitely worth Googling or having a look at some other videos that might be a little bit more helpful than that. But this is just how I've learned to do it, is I put them in containers, so now I don't have to worry about templates, right? .templates, it's all just sorted. So now you can see there's an item there, right? There's one at least. And so now I'm going to put my icon in. So we'll just put any icon in, and then we'll go to icon here, and we'll do this item dot icon, and there it is there, right? And we want to kind of resize this a little bit, so we want to make sure we set the height to parent.height, and then set the width to self.height. Self.height. Now I don't like how big that icon is there, but we also want to see how much room we have for the text label. So we'll go label, and we're going to call this, we're going to do this as width. We'll do parent.width divided by 10 times 8 times 7.5, because we want to get, we're actually probably better off doing this. So we'll go parent.width minus icon 2.width. So now this gets us this, it gets the width of this container, and then it minuses whatever the width of this icon is to get us the exact size we need. And then we'll do parent.height. And the reason for this is that if I do decide to make any changes to the sizing, this is all going to be dynamic. It's going to move that automatically for me. You can hard code it if you want. If you want to type it in, that's no problem at all. I just do it this way just so I don't have to worry about if I stretch it or do it, whatever like that, it's going to automatically do it. So we've got that there. I'm just going to quickly change the text on this to this item dot label, like so. So now we can see that's a new order. And finally, I just want to make sure that the y-axis is set properly, so that it's always going to be here if I expand it. Because as I start to go out this way, or like if I do both to the right and down the bottom, we might find that it will move a little bit. So all I want to do is I want to set the x-axis to icon 2.width, right? And that will set it right on the same line as it, right? And the icon's a little bit too big, so I'm just going to give it some padding to make it a little bit smaller, but keep the size of it, like so. And let's just bold that for now. Let's give the icon a little bit different color. Actually, we'll just go app. So this is another one that I've just started to use, as I do start to use the themes. You can hard code the coloring just by selecting it here for red if you want. What I like to do is I just like to go app.themes.colors.primary, and I'll get a little bit into that near the end of this episode, right? So now it's just going to keep the same coloring throughout. So we've got new order there. So now if I go to this collection here and I add another line, so we can do that by copying from the curly brackets, we do another comma for a new item and paste. And so now we'll just go view orders, for example, and we'll, I don't know what icon to do for this, so we'll have a quick look. Maybe if we go to PDF with content, document with content, like so. So now you'll see once I hit collection, we'll add another item there, like so. So now we've got two items. We've got view orders and new order and view orders, right? So we can now just keep going down and creating multiples, like so. So we can go settings, for example, right? And we'll change this to settings. Before that, I would like to add in a catalog management. We'll just do catalog because we don't want to put too many words there, right? Because we don't have that much space to play with. And oh, I forgot to change the icon of that. Icon. Here it is. So book. We'll go journal. I think it's called log journal. Like so. Right. So, and we'll do one more for access. Right, because we want to give users the ability to eventually add people, right, without having to come to us for it all the time. Access, and then we'll just call this do people, and then we'll do one final one for support. Like so. We hit the button again to collect. So there you can see all those buttons are just coming in automatically. I don't have to keep creating individual items. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about with this particular navigation menu, something that just kind of annoys me a little bit, that it's just a design thing, is when I'm moving my mouse, you can see that it changes, that I can like copy this text. This not up here, but you can see here, I can copy this text, and when I hover over this, it actually kind of like changes color. I don't particularly like that when I'm designing my apps. So the way around it, just a little trick that I like to use, is I will add a button to this container, alright, just like so. I will give it the width of the parent of the container itself as well as the height. Parent.height, like so. And then I change the color to transparent. I get rid of the borders, so get rid of that. Change the color to transparent. So to get transparent, in previous episodes I said you go white, then you go transparent. And now I can actually start to play. I get rid of the press color. I want that transparent as well. And what I like to do is I like to have an on hover color of like a transparent gray. You don't have to if you don't want to. So it just means that very lightly when I mouse over it, you can see that it kind of goes gray. And I also like to have the transition of push. So it kind of like pushes it in, so it looks like I'm pressing the button almost. But you can see I haven't taken the focus border off the button, so I'm going to make sure I do that. Like so. So now when I hover over, you can see I have this effect where it kind of pushes in, and it kind of gets grayed out as well, right? Now, when the user opens the app, we don't want them to have to come and press this button, right? We don't want that. So what you can actually do is we can copy this whole code, click on the app asset, and there's in the property drop down, there's actually a property called onStart. So what this will do is when the app starts, it will actually run whatever formula or whatever code's in there. So if we get it to run this, what that means is every time the user opens the app, they're going to get this. This is going to run straight away. Whatever's in here is going to run. It's going to be the first thing it does. And I'm just going to quickly add some comments in here just to let me know in the future what this actually does. So this will create navigation menu. Right? Just so I know what this all does. I'm going to save this and publish it. Like so. And I'll be right back. So I'm back. I've just come back to this homepage for Power Apps because I just want to show you that now when anyone opens the app, it's going to run those on starts, which means that menu is going to come up straight away and I don't have to press that button. So if I hit play now, as you can see, it comes up straight away. I don't actually have to press anything. So the on start will allow you to do a lot of interesting things and bring in certain collections or information into variables. That's what I mainly use it for. Even do certain functions when you're starting the app. So it's a very, very powerful tool to get familiar with and used to as well. So things that I do like to do on start is I do like to collect user information based on who signed in. So I'll just put in here user email because I just like to set global user email. I like to do this so that I can just type this code in instead of having to actually type in the user then brackets.email. and then I'll do user.email, like so. So now when the user signs in, I'm automatically going to grab their user email, right? So you can see here it's now under global, right there, boom. So you can use this to collect a lot of information about the user, or like any other information you need to collect when the user opens the app. So I think that's enough for this episode. I have gone over the 20-minute mark. I'll try to keep under it. So I'll try and do a quick wrap up. So what we did today is we just did the container up here for the top banner. We can always change this later on. This is just for our testing purposes and for us playing around. We've also just done this navigation. So this navigation, in terms of the design, we've got containers, we've got collections. That's really all you need to do in order to create this navigation bar. And you can design a navigation bar in horizontal or vertical gallery. You can design it in all different ways that you want to. I showed you previously that I did design one like this, so you can do it this way if you want. So there is endless possibilities that you can do in terms of design. It's just all about really just trying it out. It's figuring out, all the different assets that are here, all the different properties, and figuring out what different ways you can make them look. Just here in particular, you can see from the previous episode, this is just a button to get the color. You could also use a rectangle. We've used a circle and an icon to get this effect. And then it's just the label, where here it's just all separate stuff. So you can see here it's just 3 items to make it look like that. There's no coding at all whatsoever to get it to look like this. Like in terms of, sorry, I should rewind. When we're ready, and in the next episode, I'll show you how the onNavigate works, which is just one line of code using the collection that we have created just here. So look forward to that. Thank you.